Hello everyone, welcome to an epic winners semis between two of the greatest players ever in this game in Mikeyburger and admsc. I am Game Draco, joined by Domeray. Whoever wins this is going to advance into the winners finals. Whoever loses this is going to be knocked into the losers bracket to face Metallica. And this is a crazy matchup. We have Mikeyburger, who has more hours in this game than any other player ever in this game. And then we have admsc, also known as Homura, who has grinded practically everything possible since the last year's tourney ended.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be one of the best matches that we should expect to see this year in general. Like you said, Mike, one of the longest standing players in the game's history, one of the most, hours, if not the most hours of any player in this game. Not just in the speedrunning community, but possibly in the world for all we know. And then you have Homura, who only started grinding in general about December of 2022. Competed in last year's tournament, but has really leveled up their gameplay since. Night and day in terms of skill level for Homura versus the majority of people in this game. So I'm really interested to see what will happen.
Yeah. Whoever wins this is going to be facing you, too.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of stakes on whatever happens here. The most likely case is that whoever wins this, I will probably play in both winners finals and grand, just with how brackets tend to work out.
And it would not be surprising to see this matchup happen again in the losers final.
Yes, certainly it is very likely that it will happen a second time. The only two players who have any remote chance of upsetting that are Nate Man and Metallica. So we'll see how all of that plays. Mike does say that he needs 1 second. I'm not sure exactly what for, but we'll give him that 1 second. As you can tell by Homura playing here, we are starting today on Fire Mountain Rally, one of the hardest tracks in the game and the longest by time. So this is going to be really quite the slobber knocker to get things started.
Yeah, the longest track in the game by time. Very winding. One of two tracks where Ben is not the fastest. The fastest is Bullseye Nafar, which you can see Homura using. Mm-hmm. And it's a test of endurance, and to think that this is the semi-final track and it's probably harder than the Bunta Classic, which is just about this track's level's difficulty too.
Yep. It should be noted that Mike has tournament record here at a 5:12, and I would not be surprised at all if both of these players beat that time.
Yeah, they are just that good.
Yeah, I know that Homura's PB is like a 5:05, and Mike certainly has around a 5:08, possibly better. So they both have it in them to beat that 5:12, even with a death or two.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't bet on Mike dying.
No, Mike has the lowest death rate of any player in the game. You just can't count on him to die.
Yeah, if your strategy into Mike is trying to get him to die, you are doing the wrong thing. But it has to be said, we don't know how consistent Homura is. That's one of the biggest question marks of this match, is can Homura keep it clean enough? Because I do think that Homura plays riskier, i.e. probably faster pace on average, but if you die enough times, your pace doesn't matter, because Mike is not a bad player, even when he plays safe.
Yeah, he's scarily consistent, as I like to say.
Mm-hmm. You can see right there, he has a 5:09 on that save, and that may not even be his PB, it might just be that save. So, that 5:12 is, 3.5 seconds slower than what's visible.
Yeah. It's been really secretive since He stopped doing a decade ago.
Yeah, I think he'll be less secretive if he ever decides to retire from doing tournament. But obviously, given that we're here, he has not decided to do that yet.
No. Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
all right, so Mike's finally got whatever thing he needed to get sorted out here. So he has booted up the track finally. Hopefully, he'll feel ready to go here soon. A little bit delayed of a starting time, but that does happen quite often with these tournaments.
Yeah.
Never goes quite to our plan.
And Mike also playing with a flight stick, which is why you can see his movements are so smooth.
Yes, Homura is a keyboard player. Homura is also Homura is not only the best keyboard player in the world, but also the second best full track player in the world. So it's quite a combination. Versus Mike is basically the only flight stick user in the game still. There was a couple in the past, but he's the only one left. And he, like you mentioned earlier, he's just got so many hours and so much consistency. It's really hard to compete with him. And when you have that smoothness in your turning, it lends itself to being more consistent too. When you have jerky turns, it's a lot easier to make a mistake.
Especially on a super winding track like we're starting on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be real interesting to see how this goes. Oh, Mike dying in practice. He's got to get it out of his system.
It's just a crazy track to start on.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised by it. I think it makes sense as a first track for these two. But at the same time, it's definitely going to make for an interesting match. All right. All right. Okay, so we got the countdown starting. Both players are fully ready. And so here soon we should see both of our players restart. Probably be about a 30 to 40 second. Someone has music on. What? When? Oh, do they? Oh. Is it just the menu thing? Do they both have the menu music, or does the Homer always have the music?
I don't know.
Hold up a second. Let me just mute both for now. And let me see what their actual streams are like. Alright, I'll get this sync first though.
Here we are on this epic match on an epic track.
Okay. Alright. It is just during the menus. Both Mike and Homer have music during the menus. I will try my best to balance that out. Do not make any promises on being perfect. Alright. So, Fire Mountain Rally. As we've already talked about, it's a very difficult and winding track. We've just cleared one of the most difficult sections in the game, in the forest. And you can see Homura coming out with a slight advantage. Nothing too important on a track this long, but a little bit of a lead. Going through the volcano with its very inferno vibes, very similar to Inferno's shape at the end. And coming up on reverse cheese lane, or at least the reverse of grapevines. Also one of the more difficult sections in the game, especially when it comes to managing your heat, which is super important when it comes to speed. And you can see Homura using a good amount more than Mike so far, but not really building up a huge lead, only about a second and a half. Not enough to sustain taking a death, so Homura is going to have to keep playing clean.
This is
Coming up at the end of lap 1, Homura a whole turn ahead, essentially. It's a 145.02 versus a 146.
About a second off.
Yes. On this track that is not super far apart.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up onto Forest of lap 2. See how they both handle it this time.
This is one of the few parts of the game where you have to use the brakes.
Yeah, if you want to survive, you're going to have to slow her down. Homer continuing to build his lead over Mike here. Still not enough to afford a crash, so he's going to have to continue to play clean, but can probably afford to not be as risky for him. Now, Homer doesn't know that, of course. Let's see.
This trick is high risk, high reward with how you play it.
Very true. Both Mike and Homura making it through the lap 2 Quake shortcut cleanly. Can be deceptively easy to dive through there.
This track can kill you at practically any point.
Absolutely. If you let up for even just a moment, get lazy, it'll happily take away your life. All right, and
2-second lead now.
Yeah, Mike losing another quarter of a second. Sorry, 0.4 of a second. So yeah, it's still really close. If Homer takes too much damage or takes a crash, it certainly can swing the opposite direction. Looking very, very good so far, though, for both players. Mike has lost a good chunk more of time. Lead seems to have grown to roughly 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds for Homura. Almost in the range of being able to take it down.
Pretty much from boosting more.
Yeah, it's mostly from using the heat more efficiently, a little bit of lines, a little bit of speed management through the forest as well. It makes a pretty big difference here.
Ooh, Mike coming in with some yellow-orange damage. Not really good for Cheeseland.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to make enough mistakes for that to be the end of your run. Both making it through cleanly to the end. Very few sections left. Homer has got a really solid lead here, just needs to avoid a death.
There we go.
All right, and that is
with a 508.
508. And like I said before the race, both players have beaten the former tournament record. It is a very great time from Homer that is absolutely nothing to slouch at whatsoever.
And a new tourney record too, and smashed.
Absolutely. Homura talking about their heart rate being at 170 BPM.
Not surprising in a match against such skilled players.
Yeah, that type of a pace on Fire Mountain Rally and tournament is going to get your heart absolutely cooking. Now, hopefully, Homura settles it down enough to handle the rest of the match here. That can easily get you killed, even if
And
it's
we have our
just
pro
residual.
bands coming in. We have Bunta Train Course Band from Mike. Bunta Classic Band from Homura.
Okay, so we will not be traveling on any sand today, but that's okay. I don't like sand anyways.
Homura also is super scary on Bunta training. He actually set a new turning record on the first match of the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Executioner,
Homer
Executioner
is
Band.
easily the second best player on Boonta training course, and it's a pretty wide margin between him and third place there.
And we
Uh,
have an Abyss Band coming from ADMSC. From yeah,
okay, so we got BTC, Boonta Classic, Executioner, and Abyss all being permanently banned. So that's quite the interesting mix. Um, hmm. I wouldn't have expected the Executioner ban from Mike. I suspect that has more to deal with the skip than the full track, though. Worried that Homura knows the skip.
Andy Panther saying in chat, Anakin approves of these bans, referring to the sand in Tatooine.
Okay, so Mike's going to be picking our first track here. And he does start off with temp banning Cascano. Homura temp banning Baru Coast. One of Mike's best tracks, if you ask me. So that's a very good ban. We'll see what Mike has cooking for us today. I have to agree with you, Hellfire. Homura does have some good bands today. Getting rid of Bunta Classic, Abyss, and Baru Coast is a pretty good set against Mike. Interestingly, we still have Grabvine on the table, so we could always see that at some point in this match. That'd be fun. I would quite enjoy watching that. Mike taking his time to process what he wants to do here. It's something that he is known to do. So based off that first race, Draco, what's your impression of this match? What do you think's going to be the rundown?
I feel like Homer is just gonna push it to the limit in order to somehow go faster to beat Mike's consistency. It's the main thing he has. It's the main strategy he uses against Mike, and he knows how to do it. Oh, here we come!
Okay. We are doing
Vengeance!
Vengeance. Interesting. Huh. So,
This is
vengeance. Huh. Vengeance is an interesting track. On the lower end of skill levels, it is a very difficult track, pretty inconsistent, especially the tubes. Whereas on the higher end of skill levels, it becomes one of the most consistent tracks in the game. And the tubes, especially like because PC can change the FPS, you do have a really easy way of getting through them if you memorize tube patterns. And both of these players have a 302. So they're pretty much even skill here. The tournament record is a 303.2. That is a couple years old now, so it wouldn't be surprising if it got beat, but it also is not the easiest time to beat.
Yeah, this was a qualifier track, and I will note too the difficulty also is higher at lower frame rates.
Yes, this is very true. Doing this track in low FPS is quite burdensome, to say the least.
Particularly in the tube.
Certainly. One
And
thing that's important to know about this is that you could easily see a few different strategies here and still end up with relatively similar times. First of all, there's the figure 8 that Mike just went through. There's the option to do a boost hold through the left side, to just no boost through the left side, or to do kind of like a left right or right left motion. And then additionally, there's tube boost patterns, which is the most important thing for defining how good your time is on Vengeance. You want to really maximize your usage of fast terrain and minimize how much underheat you take. So how you strategize for that can vary pretty wildly. And that'll
yeah,
probably be the biggest difference between these two players. More than likely, we will see completely different strategies in those two regards.
and while you can get a memorized routine of this track, if you forget it even for the slightest moment, you will easily crash if you do.
Absolutely. You really don't have that much to play with if you forget something. It is perfectly fine if you have it in your hands and in your mind, but otherwise it gets real scary real quick. All right. So, we should have our restart up and coming soon. Players got a couple minutes to practice.
No idea how this is gonna go. Mike and Omra were second and third and not off by much in qualifying on this track this year.
Mm-hmm. This one could certainly go either way. There's no doubts that in my mind at all. Alright. So they are already basically even. Slightly different boost pattern through the fan room, or gear room, or whatever you want to call it. I always call it the fan room. But once again, they're evening up in the tubes here. Both of them somewhat mismanaging their heat, which is not what I expected. Let's see how this plays out for them. And they've mismanaged it to basically the same exact degree.
I like
That's
to call
hilarious.
Oh, Mike got a bump and Homra did it. That might be a decider. It's about half a second off.
Mike lost the boost, which is going to cost him a little bit, which, with how even they were, it could make a difference. Now, it doesn't cost him much because he didn't underheat, so it's only the difference of the boost value that was occurred, but it still can make a difference. And it hurts your heat level through here, so you kind of have to change up your strategy as well. Oh, Ben screaming at us there from Homura's side.
I like calling that fan room the cog shaft.
All right. Let's see how things even up after the second tube here. I think they should be pretty even again, maybe slightly favored for Homura depending on heat levels. And they are basically tied again, and Mike losing the boost a second time here.
This
Again,
might be the
not
deciding factor of the run.
it's not super important, but if that happens on lap 3, it absolutely is devastating. So he's going to have to really watch out for that. All right. Leading up to the tubes for lap 3. Homura on pretty much perfect heat here. A little bit off actually on this ending boost. Let's see if he can make it up. Mike doesn't appear to be going for the boost load at all. He
Get
does
it
get it
this
though.
time. I need
Oh
boosted to
my
go.
gosh.
This is gonna be close.
And oh,
Who
who
did it?
got it? Oh,
Oh my god!
wow.
It was off by. It was
700ths of a second.
700th of a second exact in favor of
That's
Homura.
wow, that's incredible. Just ever so slightly in Homer's favor.
700ths of a second. That's one of the closest races we've ever had.
Yeah, that's quite up there for close races. It doesn't get much narrower of a margin than that. But a 2-0 lead for Homer, that's pretty big. That's big news for this match.
Yeah.
Getting a 2-0 lead in this situation is really ideal if you're Homura because you know if you're Homura that you can now you can have yourself lose one of your own picks and still be in the lead. It's no longer a matter of needing to win every single one of your own picks. It's going to be best of 9, Harold. Winners finals is going to be the first one that's not best of 9 for the winners side of upper bracket, and that's going to be best of 13. Best of 11s only happen in the lower bracket, and they kind of replace the best of 13. All right. Mike, banning Gasgano once again. Really not a fan of
And the
the
Baru
Galaxy
Postman again.
fans. Yeah, that Baru Coast temp ban is going to functionally be a third permanent ban, if I'm understanding the situation correctly, and that is absolutely the correct call to make here. Mm. Man, I have not gotten over that vengeance race yet, though. that was that was honestly one of the most entertaining races to watch in a long time. Seeing those two go at it for a 303. Oof. Mike once again taking his time to think about things, which is not surprising. It's what you expect from Mike. He's very thoughtful when it comes to this stuff. Just based off of that most recent pick, I'm trying to think what's likely.
I figured he would pick Spice Mine Run.
Yeah. There it is, the Mikeyburger Classic Spice Mine Run. If you guys are at all newer to watching tournament, then you may not know this, but basically every single match that I can think of where Mike has had to pick more than a few tracks, he almost universally picks Spice Mine Run. Not only is it a track that is relatively smooth to drive, but it feeds into what he's good at, because it's difficult to play that track with a fast speed without taking an insane level of risk. The ending tunnels come to mind, the lines through a couple different sections.
It also has also been either usually when Mike picks this track, either it's spectacularly good or bad for Mike.
Yeah, Mike has historically been known to crash on a specific corner when he does die here. So hopefully we don't see that again today.
Yes.
Now, in terms of these players' PBs, I know that Homura just got the second ever 338 on this track, getting a 338.9. And Mike's screen showed a 339.4, so he's roughly half a second slower on at least this save file. But in tournament, that doesn't matter, right? Neither of these players are going to get a low to mid 339 anyways. The best that I can see happening is a high 339. And even then, my expectation is that Mike gets somewhere in the 340s. So Homer is going to have to compete with that time. And that's the question. Can Homura consistently get in the 339 range or low 340 range? Because that's what he's going to need. All right. We do have the countdown starting. So here in a little bit, we'll get the actual race going. One thing that I'm really liking from Homura so far this match is the consistency, right? Like Homura's practice methods outside of tournament are intense. Very, very intense. Practices every section of every track before doing ILs. Super, super focused, save states and whatnot. And that really has clearly improved his consistency, because neither of these players have died yet this match, despite playing on Fire Mountain Rally
And
and then
Vengeance, which is
having been.
also a track that can kill you at any point too.
Yeah, it's. Whew. They're both doing quite incredible thus far.
Uh-oh! Oh, he's restarting.
All right.
Yep, they do the cutscene manip because at the pace they're going, if they're deathless, that can kill you easily if you don't do it. And that's how, if you're veterans of the tourney season, that was how Mike lost the tournament match, the tourney, in 2020.
Yeah. The dozer can be not your friend on lap 3. It is best just to wait out almost the entirety of that cutscene. Just give yourself plenty of room to work with. All right. So both these players going to be taking roughly the same lines, a little bit different boost patterns most of the time, I would suspect. But you shouldn't see too much of a difference between either of them. This ending bit here is about the only place that you might see some differences happen. Depending on your comfort level or how much risk you're going to take with the lines, you can choose to boost less or more through the tubes and the market. Neither of these players are going to be boosting through
This is
market,
going to be
which I'm
close.
sure makes Gale very happy. All right.
They're off
They
by
are
about three
yeah,
fifths of a second.
yeah, they are doing somewhat different boost patterns, so that has basically completely evened up here. Homura doing what I do, which is cutting the boost right before the starting grid, which makes a pretty big difference to what that initial time looks like. All right. And they are pretty much identical here. Not much difference to be had whatsoever. Hopefully they keep this up because this is turning out to be almost as even, if not just as even as Vengeance was.
On a much longer track.
Yeah, this is really impressive stuff from both players.
Homer, though, taking the lines a little bit more tighter.
Yeah, Homer up really pushing these ending tunnels, which is quite risky to do. Clearly still paying off, but whew, man, it's scary. And they are still almost identical pace here. Seeing that bounce back of the time with Homura from lap 1's heat. And once again, we should see them even out roughly by the end of this boost. Yep. There is not much difference to be said between them. I think Homura is ever so slightly advantaged here right now. Okay. It really does come down to this lap 3. How can they utilize their heat effectively and balance out their lines? Because right now there's still enough margin for error that Mike could make up the time. Let's see what happens. All right. Both using a lot of heat going into the first turn of market. Homer's lead has built a little bit more. Gonna need to finish it out strong, and I think he's got it.
Yep.
And that's a 339.8 versus a 340.27. Both of them are fantastic times. And that's going to give Homura a 3-0 lead. And we are still deathless 3 races in.
Guessing we're seeing the Gazgano Baru coast again. Yep.
Yep. Same
Fans
chat
remain the
fans.
same.
So what does Mike have left? Like what's on the table for him?
Well,
Bumpy's Breakers. Maybe. Maybe Hellfire? I don't know. Ugh. Hmm. I mean, the problem is, right, that Homer is not bad at anything, right? Everything
no.
that's left on the table, Homura is top 2, 3 in, right? And no matter how good Mike's PBs are, hidden or not hidden, he still is competing with a monster of full track, which is not something that he's had to deal with very much historically. Somewhat, yes, but Homura is very, very, very strong at these full track picks. Why not go off meta pods? Well, I really don't think that plays in Mike's favor. Homura is one of the most active utilizers of Botto challenges. So Homura has played every pod on every track, probably a lot of combinations more than once, and is very good at it.
Yeah, that's what made him such a fierce competitor. And I think we can now say Homer joins the scarily consistent club with this.
Yeah, I mean Homura's just played a lot, and it's a very good thing to do. If you want to get good, you got to play a lot. I would honestly say that no matter what you pick, you shouldn't expect Homura to be surprised unless it's like a skip that he's less practicing. I don't think he's that strong in most skips, if any skip. I don't really know what he's good at with skips. I do know he was considering them as like a possible pick, but I don't know which ones. And Mike isn't exactly known for picking them. He does know some, but he's not known for picking them.
I feel like of the two, I feel like Homer would be more Skip's knowledge since he's grinded Botto challenges like crazy since last year's tourney ended.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how often he does the skips in them. I haven't done any sort of
Oh, here we
research on
go.
that.
We're going to NW Mountain Run.
Okay. Okay, this is a pick I can get behind. And the reason I say that is first of all, Andobi Mountain Run is it's just a difficult track in general, right? Like there have been no good runs on this track in tournament. If I'm being frank. There have been no good runs completed on this track yet. It's super difficult. It deceives you with consistency when you do practice versus when you're in tournament for Fast Canyon. And at the end of the day, it's just it's just not as consistent as other hard tracks. But there's the caveat. Mike tends to make up for those inconsistencies with his own consistency. So, if Homer is lacking at all in that category, this is the type of track that'll bring it out. If Homura can go deathless here, then really there is no way to force him to play inconsistent. That's the real answer, right? All right.
If Homer proves to be scarily consistent on this track, 341 is nothing to laugh at, and
Oh
this is
no. 341 puts Homer, I believe, solidly in third place on this track. And additionally, about 2 seconds ahead of what I think Mike has.
is if they both prove to be really fast and consistent across the whole track, it might come down to the canyon because I have a gut feeling that Homer knows how to do the fast canyon while Mike doesn't.
I don't know if it's that Mike doesn't know how to do it or if that he just doesn't care to do it in tournament. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain he can do it because I think I've seen him do it in some of his videos that he's sent me in the past. But he certainly doesn't care to do it in tournament.
Let's see what Homer does here in this practice.
Yeah, the countdown was given, so it won't be too long before we see, but it'll be interesting. Homer is slowing down a lot. Wow, okay, that's a lot more
Whoa!
than I expected him to slow down. Whoa,
Same here.
sheesh. He's trying to play almost in the same ballpark as Mike, but he gets a slower lap one time than Mike did in practice, so that might not play out in his favor.
Yeah.
Hmm, that's that was a genuinely fascinating result right there. Okay.
Here's to see what happens in the match. Here we go.
Yeah. All right. Let me put the audio back on. A little bit off on this thing, but that's okay. All right. As much as
Whoa.
all this technically matters, the thing that really defines this track is the canyon. So let's see what happens. They are basically even, as they have been this whole match, really. Okay, yeah, Mike going at this a lot faster.
Oh,
Does
took the
bonk,
bunch
though.
though!
Both of them blocking. And they come out basically even.
No, Homer got slightly ahead with his boost.
Yeah, slightly ahead as in 300ths of a second ahead.
Jeez, that was so close!
Wow. Okay then. But Homer is using the fast train more effectively, so that is going to save more than the 300s that he just saved. Wow. They are both playing that canyon awfully safe, and I don't blame them for doing so. It's very dangerous.
Ooh, Mike had to repair.
Let's see what happens here. So Homer, a couple tenths lead or so. Nothing's major. And with how much he's braking in this canyon, if Mike doesn't bonk, Mike's gonna pass him. Let's see what happens. They are dead even. Mike riding 615. Homer was riding 570. You can see that has given Mike the advantage going into lap 3. About quarter of a second lead for Mike now. It really is absolutely incredible how good both of these players have done so far this match. We are on race for lap 3 with 0 deaths on the board still. It is outright absurd.
I thought Mike was gonna die there.
He really came close. And Homer has made up that time loss on the rest of the track here. So it's going to come down to lap 3 Canyon. If Mike keeps it clean, he should come out ahead. And he does. So all he has to do is hold this boost. He holds this boost and it's his. And it's Mike.
Wins.
And he takes a half a second off his own tournament record. Very nice. And we've made it through 4 races with no deaths.
I don't think we've ever had a match go this crazily deathless ever.
Yeah, this is probably the cleanest match that's ever been done so far. Now, that could always change, but as of right now.
Let's see. Oh, we have admsc banning Bullseye.
Okay. I don't think we're going to see a grab vine no Bullseye pick, so this might just be a temptation type of odd ban. Let me clear the audio for Homer so we don't accidentally get some music playing again. Mike taking his time to think about what he wants to do with his track ban, which, again, not a surprising decision on his part. He does like to think hard about what he does. Okay. Mike's hovering on Doug Derby right now. We'll see if he commits to it.
Yep, he commits the Doug Derby ban.
Okay.
Forcing Aqualaris, tracking him off meta.
Quite a little fast, huh? Oh, jeez.
And there are probably few players.
But... Yep.
Yep, he goes for it. And
oh, jeez.
And I would say Homura is probably one of the most, if not one of the most practiced off-meta players in the game, and currently.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, realistically speaking, the only people who have any equivalent experience plus also speed when it comes to the game is myself and then probably Hellfire. Hayudoro has a lot of experience in the past as well with it, and Radiant has a lot of experience. He's just working on the speed, but You throw Homura on any given pod track combination, and he's very likely to be the better player. Hmm. Clegg is a weird pod. He's very basic. He's very vanilla. He drives pretty similarly to Ben, but with somewhat higher acceleration and traction. But he's really not hard to use. If anything, he's kind of easier to use than most pods. As long as
Also
you're
has a
aware of his higher traction.
he also has a really strong booster too.
Yeah, and his turn rate's not terrible either. He kind of feels like an easier version of Ben. But it should
No,
still catch Mike at least a little off guard.
yeah. The only place you'll probably see Clegg used in a speedrunning scene is if you're on the Nintendo 64 and you have to use him for vengeance with the no upgrade amateur circuit run. Because Beto's just impossible to use at 20. No upgrade Beto's just impossible to use on vengeance at 20 on the 64.
Yeah, the only person who's ever even remotely had a chance at doing that well is Hayudoro.
Yeah.
He is it's a one of one list.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
countdown has been given. Oh man. I really do think this is a good pick. But I'm also a little bit concerned about Homura possibly gunning it harder than he needs to. Now, that hasn't happened yet, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. All right, so Homer is restarting. Uh, hopefully Mike gets the memo here. Not sure Mike has seen the thing yet. He's still going in his practice here. Oh, there it goes. We're gonna have a nice juicy sync pause coming in here, people. Nice and juicy one. Oh, we'll see how good my math was.
A full 35-second sync pause. Already you can tell Mike nowhere near as comfortable as Homer with this.
Certainly not. And if he had been, I would have been very surprised. He's not doing bad, but let's see what the difference is here. Oh, my math was a little bit off.
Not much, though.
And
Off
they're
by
only
a tenth of a second.
Yeah, only a tenth of a second separating.
Much closer than I thought it would be.
If I'm being honest, it kind of looks like Mike is just not phased by this. He's still
Oh my god!
only
A hundredth of
he's
a second off!
yeah, he's still only a tenth behind right now.
Uh-oh, that might have done it.
It does bonk a little bit. He doesn't lose too much speed, so he's not out of it yet. But he really can't be making too many mistakes here, and that feel like he's lost some time this lap compared to where he was sitting at before. Let's see how it ends. It
It's
all
gotta be
comes down to
close.
the ending. Who manages their heat better?
Ooh.
This is the boost. Homer misses the boost and loses the race. Oh my gosh.
We have,
Holy moly.
that is 600ths of a second.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
600ths of a second.
That's one way to lose your own pick. Huh. Yeah, yeah, that's a classic way to not boost. You just let go of nose down like a frame or two before you press the boost button, and then and you don't boost as it turns out.
Bulls Roar Band from
so
Home Run.
so Mike breaks serve one time. He needs to do it more than once. But it is now looking a lot more doable than it was once. There was a time this match was 3-0. Let me go ahead and mute the audio again just in case we get some music cooking up. Oh, and I might want to fix these syncs. Wipe a clean slate after that 39-second sync. Okay, so Homura has temp banned bulls. Not doing bullseye this time.
I'm just glad this match wasn't a clean sweep.
I never thought this was going to be a sweep.
No, but it looked like that for a second.
It was getting a bit scary.
Looks like, see a Mike, it's looking like he's hovering over Doug Derby.
Yeah, he's considering doing the Doug Derby track ban again. Not really what I would expect him to do, but oh, okay. Mike tacking on a scrapper's ban using one of his force points. Given that he doesn't use them offensively, him using them defensively makes a lot of sense. All right, let's see what Homura has in mind now. Also, I just want to point this out. We are now 5 races in with 0 deaths cumulatively. That has to be a first.
Oh,
Oh,
Death Rose banning. Looks like he's Death Rose with Bulls ban and Mars ban, mean you're forced to go with Beto here.
yep. Yep. Beto is certainly the best available option. After that, your next best bet would be Elon Mac, and it's probably like half a second to a second slower than at Aldar.
Yeah. And the pod picks that you have here in Elon Mack, Mahonic, and Beto are all really greasy.
Mm-hmm. And Aldar has particularly bad turn rate as well. Oh boy. It's okay, Radiant. Jinxing doesn't exist anyways, so it's fine. Zelaskal are being shouted out as this is an Aldar Beto pick. And as Zelaskalar has pointed out in the past, this exact situation, minus the fact that Bulls is banned, is exactly how he managed to take a point off King Bean Dip back in 2020. King Bean Dip used Bulls and died, and Zelaskalar had Aldar and didn't. And won the race. What can I say, Lilac? It's not within my understanding of reality, shall we say.
Mike can't
Mike
really
is
afford to be.
Mike has not done anything here. Has not even picked a traction part. I'm a little bit concerned. Oh, now he's moving. Perhaps he was called away briefly. Hopefully he doesn't get too caught off guard here. He does have a 40-second buffer compared to this countdown that we're looking at. Oh boy.
Beto.
All right. We may be up for a larger sync pause again with how Mike is currently looking. I'm not sure what he has going on, but certainly not going to dock him for possibly something happening outside of tournament. Homer completing a 212 in practice. Seems like an okay time for Aldar. I'm not really sure what exactly would be best case scenario here. I don't believe this is the race from Homura. It's a bit too convenient timing, but with how long the countdown was given ago, it very well could be. I'm not sure. I'll turn on the audio and we'll see what happens. I have no idea what's going on anymore. I think this is.
Idea.
I think this is the race from Homer. I'm not sure what's going on with Mike though. He's gonna have to restart. Okay, he is restarting, but I mean, like, come on, man. It's gonna be a full minute.
On a super short track.
I'm not even gonna bother syncing this one. I mean, I'm not waiting around a minute for it to happen. That's a
On a
bit too
track
long.
that's a little over 2 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I'll have to figure out what was going on with Mike there. All right. Well, anywho, Homura is playing as clean as ever so far. Not really much to say other than the fact that I mean it's Aldar. He's a little bit harder to handle than Ben, but he's not particularly difficult to use in terms of boost patterns. So really, there's not much to worry about other than managing your turning, which Homura seems to have done just fine. And it looks
Coming
like it's
in
going to
with
be
a
212.
212.33.
All right. Well, let's see what Mike's pace is here. Celestial calling for roof strats. Sir, that is not a smart way to play the game.
And with Mike's cautious strategy approach, I doubt he'll take it either.
Yeah. It looks like Mike is somewhere between 412 and 413 pace, so it's gonna come down to how this last lap goes.
So remember, we had a minute sync pause on a match between Mike and and Harold, and the pause ended with an agony of defeat for Harold.
Okay.
Ooh,
Oh, he doesn't go for out of bounds. Ah,
match
man.
point for Omra, but I think it's probably good that he didn't do that.
Oh, man. I don't think it would have made enough of a difference, but it certainly doesn't help. All right. So this is potentially match point, and it is going to be Mike's pick here. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. Has anyone ever done roof with Beto? I don't know if anybody's ever bothered to try, but it's certainly something that you can do. I wouldn't want to invest my time doing it.
No deaths with 6 races in.
Mm-hmm. Just like I said, Radiant, I didn't jinx squat. We are on the verge of having an entire match with no deaths. If there was ever any questions or doubts about Homura's ability to adapt and be consistent, I hope they have all been put to rest. All right, Mike, again banning Gasgano. There has been no skips forces so far. And I suspect it will stay that way. Baru Coast ban again from Homura, keeping it strong, treating it as a third permanent ban, which is one of my favorite strategies in the game when it comes to tournament. So what's your prediction, Draco? Last pick for Mike for this match, regardless of what happens. What do you think it'll be?
I have no idea.
Based off of that AMR pick and how it went, I'm thinking that we're going to get I think that my prediction is going to be oh man, it's such a hard prediction. Maybe is Hellfire's Bumpy's Breakers a good possibility? Kind of feels like one, but I don't think Mike is really typically known for picking that. I kind of feel like something like if I was Mike, like what would I do in this situation? I feel like I would want to pick something extreme. I'd really want to try to make Homura play safe intentionally. And I think the only way that you can kind of force something like that is a track like Grapevine or Inferno, possibly. I don't know if those picks are actually good into Homura, but strategically you kind of want to force him to play slower somehow. Uh, it's a really difficult bind that Mike is in right now.
Oh, running back vengeance is what I'm
Oh,
looking at.
interesting. Yeah, we're doing a Vengeance for Salty Runback. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Huh. I mean, they did just get nearly identical times earlier this match, so I guess he just thinks maybe it'll swing his way this time? Huh. Alright then. Excuse me for just one moment. All right, apologies about that. Is this the after countdown race already?
Yep, here comes Mike pausing.
Okay,
We should be seeing Homer pause pretty shortly.
cool.
Mike resets.
Oh, he quick
There we
race.
go.
I assume that he's just gonna enter in a second.
There we go.
All right.
Ooh, Homer
Vengeance
held the
Part
whole
2.
boost, I think.
I didn't catch quite what he did, but he certainly played it a bit riskier than Mike at the very least. They are pretty deadpan again. Mike on again. I don't like his boost pattern here. I mean, I don't like either of their boost patterns here so far. They're both doing not what I would call recommended strats, but they keep evening out. Okay, Mike getting the boost hold this time, so he's not going to be at a disadvantage in that sense. He is roughly three
Quarter of a
tenths
second off.
behind. Looks to be slightly lower heat right now, so we'll see how things shake up long term.
Eee.
Oy, oy, oy. I think. Oh,
Mike's game crashed, I think.
oh, wait. Hold.
Please tell me he.
Okay, hopefully it comes back in just a second here. Oh man, and Mike in chat saying his game did in fact crash. Oh boy. Shoot.
Jeez. What should we do now?
I believe it's just gonna be Mike needs to reset, right? Like right now. Because then he's still valid. Well, I guess there's no Steam sync that'll matter this time either.
Dang.
Okay, so we know what Mike needs to beat on our end. Mike is working on resetting his game as quickly as he can, but he's not exactly known for having the quickest setup in the land.
No.
Oh boy. If he doesn't get it started quick enough, I almost wonder if it'd be better to just have them both redo it, but that kind of is somewhat unfair to Homer either way. I think right now it's fine. I don't think I don't think Mike's gonna be looking at Homer this time. I mean, obviously there's no way for us to know right now, but
No.
Mike always checks all of his parts. It's that we were never gonna get out of him doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, he is getting into it. Lightning, are you hoping that Mike just straight up ties Homura's time here?
Oh my! I thought he could crash there. Eehee.
Oh boy, this is quite tense.
Gonna be a rough one.
Well, regardless of let me rephrase that. If Homura's time is better than Mike's, none of this matters, right? Like it there's no question of fairness. If Mike's time is better than Homura's, it's just discretionary to what the tournament organizers think at that point. And I do know that Ace and King Bean are in our tournament live at the very least, and Lightning is certainly watching as well. So we should be able to get pretty instantaneous feedback on what they want to do with that. But it is very tense watching somebody and knowing what time they need to beat. Let me just go ahead and mute Homer's audio there just in case he goes into a menu. Don't need to get any music. And he did right after I said that. All right, Mike getting the boost hold on lap 2. He's gonna need a minute flat, I think. He can't have any decimal points at all to beat Homer's time. So this is really gonna be cutting it close. Now you can do that. In fact, you can get 59-second times on lap 3, but you gotta play your cards really well. All right,
Oh! Oh,
catches
God.
fire, but not a problem. Okay, getting to the end here. He's on really high heat. I don't think he used his fast train sufficiently to get the time he needs to get to beat Homura. But let's see. And he does
Oh!
not beat Homura's time. So that is the match. 5-2 in favor of Homura.
Armorai advances into the winner's final to face you, Domri, and Mike goes on to face Metallica. So it's the next match between those two are gonna be super consistent versus even more consistent.
Oh boy. This is gonna be quite a fun tournament. Alright. Unfortunately, I do have something that I have to leave for before interviews, so I will leave that in your care, Draco.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody for watching, and thanks for joining me on Comms, Draco. I appreciate it. And GG to Homer on the win for when you watch this back.
Yeah. Hey, admsc. Hey, Mike.
Hello.
You realize you just did a full match of 7 races and neither one of you crashed once?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I don't think we ever had a match in Tourney this clean ever.
What can I say? It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
From,
it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And man, admsc, you just got scarily consistent and fast since last year.
Yeah, I've been working. Yeah, trying to get good. Yeah, I really practice. I really practice a lot, and I'm glad that everything went okay with me.
Yeah, it was just insane to watch.
is Dom not commentating with you?
He had to leave early because he had an appointment he had to make. So yeah, he just had to leave for an appointment. So but so that's what we're doing. It we had 2 races that came down to hundredths of a second.
Yeah, that was one of those things.
So but yeah, this was quite fun to commentate, and at first for a second early on the match we were afraid you were going to get clean sweep, Mike, and then you pulled in and knocked 2 off of him.
Well, you know me.
Yes, yes. Oh, veteran of it. And you're going to be facing now Metallica. You're going to be facing Metallica now, Mike, in the losers match.
That should be fun.
Yeah, and admsc, you're going to be facing Domare in the winners final now.
It'd be cool to see that someone actually might give Dom a challenge this year, which would be interesting.
Yes, it's kind of scary, and we also have, and your match with Metallica is going to be the last best of 9 of the tournament, since we just had the last best of 9 of the lower bracket just set up for Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern in Droopy Angora versus Knock. So once you schedule your match with Metallica, Mike, you're going to have best of 13s in this bracket. You're going to be facing a best of 13 with Domare in the winners final admsc, and all the matches after the match on Saturday in the lower bracket are going to be best of 11s. So we're really coming close to the end of the tournament now.
Yeah, but both of those matches are going to be great, actually. I mean, Metallica's just brilliant, and obviously Dom versus Homura is just going to be amazing as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, yeah. So, but yeah, congrats on it. Congrats on the win, Homura, and you put up a really solid fight. It was much closer than the score would say it was.
Yeah, well done, Homura. You obviously raced well there, and taking no deaths as well. So it's I can respect that. Yeah, well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was I was very nervous, especially in the first race, and like
You felt. Sorry, go on.
oh no, you can go.
Oh, I was just saying, you seem very, very prepared for this match. Like, I felt like you had really done your homework.
Maybe I really just try to practice like every track with band or bullseye, and yeah, I just managed to like I could have died in many areas, but I just was able to create some consistency and win that Farmington rally, and like So Vengeance was very close, very close race. And, I could have lost that one. We could have went either way.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say. Congratulations on a good match. Congrats. Hope you do well in your next two matches, admsc and Mike, and tune in this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern for Nock versus Droopy Angora. And take care. Have a good rest of the day. Good luck, and may the force be with you.
Yep, congrats. See you later.
See you later.